Yeah, I'm never one to sit outside and cast stones at other people because some
Yeah,
of
it's not a
my
bad thing.
yeah, some of my closest peers. I mean, to be my one of my favorite records was "Victim in Pain." I remember hearing that first opening chord from Agnostic Front on their first record, and it was out of tune. And then I became
Right.
friends with those dudes and being on tour with them, having Vinny Stigma. He's tuning a guitar between songs. He turns to me, and the guitar's a little bit out of tune. And I wanted to say, "No, it's not there. It's not in tune yet." And
Yeah.
he interrupted me and said, "Close enough for hardcore." And I was
Right.
like, "Yes, that was it. Hardcore and punk rock ethic." Different from metal, but metal still had that same attitude. It was like, it's not about perfection, it's about attitude first.
Energy.
Energy, vibe,
Yeah.
and Leaders and Liars has that, not just on the title track. Generation Kill, it's a song that's a fast, fierce fucking song about something that's fast and furiously destroying our culture. I think disliking or unliking somebody because they think different from you,
Right.
or believe in something different to you is very destructive to our culture and our world.
Which is,
And I don't.
I mean, I'm sure it's always been there to some extent, but I mean, I remember years ago, I knew people from, you'd go hang out with vegans and Krishnas and metalheads and people who had like wildly different belief systems, and it was fine. And
Yeah,
now it's like, oh, if you don't agree with all the 10 things I believe, then I hate you, you're the enemy.
yeah, and I'm not. I think that's way more destructive. I fell in love with the subculture in a time when I really needed to feel like I belonged because I felt like I didn't belong, and that's I think what draws us all to the underground music scene. And you can call it whatever. It could be the punk scene, hardcore scene,
Yeah.
or New York hardcore scene, or the metal scene, or whatever. But it's that feeling of family that we fall in love with, and what unites us is having that same belief. Like, hey, you like this, but I like this, but we also like this, and that makes this that's unifying on similar beliefs and respecting differences. But our culture has changed so much, and I'm not with that. I think that it hurts more than helps. And there's things that I believe and I will die and fight for. But I also don't want to live in a world where everybody believes what I believe in, or say, let's say for music, I love Metallica and I love Anthrax, and I also love Cro-Mags and Agnostic Front and Turnstile. But if everybody in the world liked those bands, there wouldn't be anything else.
Right.
I want to get turned on to the next big. I want to get turned on to the next new thing, and that is what turns the world in a beautiful, awesome, positive way. When you disrespect that, or actually when you don't have respect for being holding a different belief than somebody else, or having respect for them having a different belief than you, that's not positive, not forward thinking.
No, it sure isn't. And it's like it's more than just making life unpleasant. It's actually like a serious risk to society, because this is when people like fight, people are ready to kill each other over the most trivial shit. That they never even sat down and talked to someone that they disagree with to figure out why. You know?
Yeah.
Like, for example, like my dad was a corrections officer, and so I hear all these people, and my stepmom was too. So, I encounter lots of these ACAB people who go on and on about how, and lots of my friends are cops, and, go on about how bad cops are and rah, rah, rah. I'm like, all right, well, my family was in corrections. Have you ever, like, do you know anybody do you know any cops? You ever talked to one? Did you ever even try?
Exactly, dude. It's like racism. I remember, we grew up fighting, not to pull this card, but I
Actually fighting Nazis for real.
For real. Going down, I remember when we played this one show, and these kids, and it was like it was Biohazard, Sick of It All, and Share Terra in Allentown, Pennsylvania. There was like maybe 1,200, 1,500 kids. I don't remember, but it was a
Allentown was like full of, that was like Hammerskins.
I don't know who they were, but when you see, even though out of 1,500 people, if you see a group of 10 kids like doing Sieg Heil, putting their arms like Hitler, I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is insane to see. So we said something. They tried to beat up one of our friends, Chris from DC. He got back on stage, and we made an announcement. We said, yo, keep your fucking bullshit politics out of here. This is all about being family and believing in similar things, and keep the politics, keep the bullshit out of here. These kids didn't want to hear that. I jumped off the stage, go to between the stage and the barricade, and all these 8 dudes ran right to me, and they were putting their fists out like their hands doing Sikh Heil. I don't know if this is, yeah, it's video. Yeah. So they're doing this, and one kid put his fingers right in front of my mouth, and bro, he had black. I'll never forget this. He had black leather driving gloves, and I bit his hand like a fucking pit bull, and I'm shaking like, I spit his hand out like, come on, motherfucker. And they wanted to kill me, but I stood my ground. I was like, fuck you, man. Half of Biohazard is Jewish. You're going to fucking do that shit, you're going to deal with fucking consequences. I don't believe, and I also believe this, here's the other thing. I also believe it's your right to believe in what you want to believe. That's what makes our country as unique and special. In a lot of places, you can't air your views. Right. And I believe that if you're against the government, it's your right to say you're against the government. It's your right to say it online if you're against the government. I've been doing it my whole life in my music. Don't censor people. I'm not for neo-Nazis coming to my backyard and doing that crap. And I will stand up against them because it's not what I believe in. And I'm not going to say it's also their right to believe in that shit, but you get my point.